This is the Ross Grimsley Show, hosted by former Orioles and All-Star pitcher Ross Grimsley and Stan the Fan Charles. The Ross Grimsley Show is brought to you by Sliders. Stop by Sliders, Baltimore's favorite local sports bar, to watch all of the big games, enjoy a fancy Clancy beer, and their daily food specials. Sliders is located just 771 feet from home plate across from Camden Yards. And now, take it away, Ross.
Welcome, everybody. Ross Grimsley here. Kyle Oppenheimer is alongside. Stan Charles is out of town. Ready to get this thing started?
Absolutely.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Let me tell you about my week.
Please.
First of all.
Please.
Now, obviously, we did, there's 3 golf tournaments. Habitat for Homes was last Monday.
All right.
Then we had Friday, the Jonathan Ogden.
Of course, we all love Jonathan Ogden in Baltimore.
Great tournament. It was a lot of fun, a lot of food, a lot of drinks. I think I had my first drink at 10 in the morning.
Well, that's only a problem if it's not like a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. You know,
it was a Friday, ready to roll. But I'm playing with 4 lawyers, and they were ready to roll. They said, "We don't ask, we just give." I go, "Thanks." But anyway, that was a lot of fun. But then Kenny Singleton's Cool Kids tournament was yesterday and Sunday, so I play. In the celebrity tournament, me and Ed Norris.
Okay,
we're a team, and we're playing in a foursome with
Now,
Al
who's
Lumbrey.
a better golfer between the two of you? Honestly
I
speaking.
was.
Okay,
I
fair
was.
enough.
I play more than he does, and I don't play once every 2 weeks. I played 4 times last week.
All right.
So anyway.
Well, only one of you was a professional athlete, so.
Yeah, and this is even better. So we hit a ball. He gets a ball out in the fairway. I got a shot, and I go between 2 trees.
I hear that's not good in golf.
No.
Yeah.
No. So I rifle one. I squared it up. It hits a tree, comes directly back at me about as hard as I hit it. And in disgust, I swing and I hit it again. No, I didn't.
I was going to say.
So somebody saw it, and I go, elite athlete here. Couldn't do it again in 100 tries, but that was so.
Was it like a baseball cut?
Yes, absolutely. And I squared it up on the head of the club.
That is insane.
I can't do it again.
And nobody had it on video, of course?
No, but somebody saw it. So anyway, the next day, now we're playing with the corporate sponsors the next day.
Okay.
It's me with 4 of the guys. So anyway, there's a par, number 10 out at Hunt Valley.
All right.
It's about 185, plays 200. So we get there. It's downhill. So I asked, there's girls there. Anybody get close today? No. It's a tough hole.
Sure.
So anyway, the win, if you get a hole in one, a 2019 or 2020 Denali GMC.
That's not a bad little prize. Yeah.
Bells and whistles all over. It's a beautiful. So we're laughing. Oh yeah, if I get it, I'll give it to you. Blah blah. So I tee off. It goes directly to the hole. It's going dead on. I squared it up, hit it straight.
Sure.
Usually it fades.
And you like when you hit it off the tee, you were like, "Oh man, this might have a chance."
Everybody is. We're looking. It's going right to the hole, so it lands and it starts rolling. Now you can't see it,
right?
And I couldn't see it, so it's still rolling. We're not really sure, so we get a little closer. 5 feet short. 5 feet short of that. I'm going, and we were laughing because I didn't think anybody would even be on the green.
Of course.
5 feet short.
That's insane.
So it's parked next to my truck in the lot as I'm driving up. I'm going, you could have been mine. So that started, that was the week. But a great time, great cause, a lot of things for the kids. And,
absolutely,
a lot of money was raised, which was great. So a lot of fun, guys. Had a great time.
No doubt.
So anyway, today I think we're going to, we'll talk a little bit about the O's.
Sure. Look, the product on the field is. It was the backdrop of the Orioles has been the addition of some talent in the past 2 weeks,
exactly
right? Adley Rutschman has added a little bit of wind in the sails.
Yep, so to speak. Yep.
And it's not quite as important necessarily. The results on the field this season, we just want to see them playing hard and competitive baseball.
They are, yeah.
And against the Astros, they were fighting.
Right. Well, and obviously the Astros didn't have their number 1 guys, but that they played against some of the better pitchers. They had a good outing, a good effort against Texas Rangers, who swing the bat really well. But the draft, and that's one of the things we want to chat a little bit about, that they drafted catchers.
Yeah.
Center fielders,
yeah,
shortstops,
and college kids.
College kids. The first high school pick for them pitching wise was 30 something.
It was there was I don't believe there were any high school pitchers. If I'm not mistaken, there were only 2 high school kids picked in the entire draft for the Orioles, and they were both, I think they were the second, Gunnar Henderson, the second round, the shortstop, and the 5th round pick, Ruiz, I believe
something
it was.
like that, yeah.
And it seemed as though Mike Elias was trying to say that was more so just the nature of how the board fell, and that their best guy ranked at the time was more often than not a college guy. But there was also some indication that there was maybe shying away from the guys who are overslot high school guys that are going to be tough signs.
Well, not only that, but the first high school player picked in the draft was number 18.
Yeah.
And I think it was Pittsburgh did that. But what they're seeing, and we talked about this, in the past, that high school pitchers now with the big push on velocity, a lot of guys, you're getting 12, 13, 14-year-old kids getting Tommy John surgery. So they're starting to shy away a little bit from this, and you need more pitchers instead of throwers. But everything you talk about, but I think the people in the major leagues organizations, they're wising up a little bit.
Yeah.
That these guys, we'll draft them lower if they get hurt. You expect it, but the high ones you can't. You're wanting some guys that are mature enough, and you start trying to get these guys to throw harder at younger, and you hear it all the time. I hear it everywhere I go when I talk to people in sports that they're trying to get these young kids before they're developed, before their growth plates are even formed,
and that's
to the max.
And that's kind of shining some light on the value of, I guess, those 3 years where you would be pitching at college, right? It tells you more about not only the pitcher's ability, but also their physical makeup and how much they can actually handle the workloads that are going to be asked of them.
Yeah, you see it all the time, but it's really it's something that they're starting to take notice of, and that finally. But with moving on, you look at there were some things that happened. Chris Sale.
Sure.
He had the immaculate inning.
In the 8th inning, right?
And we had 2. That's 2 this year where you strike out everybody.
Did you ever have one?
No. I think I come close, maybe
So there's
11 pitches.
There's some stats out there that say, look, as far as the total number of games in Major League history, it's a higher likelihood that you'll have a no-hitter than you will pitch an immaculate inning. There are fewer people who have pitched immaculate innings relative to the number of innings that have been played, right?
Chris Sale it was the first time in 90 years, he did it twice this year.
And for those unaware, that's a 9-pitch inning, 3 strikes each time, and a strikeout on all 3 batters.
Nolan Ryan, Sandy Koufax, Randy Johnson, Max Scherzer.
You know who did it in Baltimore? Kevin Gausman.
And that's another. We're going to get to him in a minute too. But yeah, that's pretty amazing that it hadn't happened more. But Koufax has done it 3 times.
He was okay.
Yeah, pretty much. But moving on with Gausman. Now there was he's struggling. He has a 6+ earned run average in Atlanta, starting in 13 starts. They're talking about moving him to the bullpen, and I thought that should have been done a long time ago with his split and the changeup and
the velocity as well.
He throws in the upper 90s. That's just another example.
But he was one of those guys that always felt like he could carry that velocity, right? Like it was never a problem for Gausman to pitch with his stuff deep into the games as far as velocity. It was always just he would have trouble the 3rd time through the lineup because he wouldn't have a breaking ball, right? He didn't know what.
I think something really lacked in here. He has the stuff, he has the pitches, but it just and then going to Atlanta, he mentioned something about the analytics.
Yeah.
Well, the analytics. He made the comment that they said if I get ahead, in the count first, really. That's not. You don't need analytics
for
that.
That's always
you mean you weren't told that here in Baltimore?
Well, there's always going to be the question with Gausman about the development side of things and how he was brought up through the system and rushed along and jerked back and forth between.
But some of that's one thing. But knowing some of the basics of, you hear this a lot, and you hear it now. You hear Dempsey mention it a lot. That some of the basics, and you talk to the people, and I've talked to some sources that said, "Well, what about that?" Well, they were never told. What? They were not told? This is basic stuff.
That's it's pretty glaring as far as weaknesses are concerned for the Orioles.
But pitching here at Camden Yards, it's not easy, and a lot of people don't want to come here. Plus, in Camden Yards, in the American League East, and some of these, obviously Camden Yards, Fenway, New York.
I'd be curious to know if you were to look at the draft class that Mike Elias and company put together, what percentage of the pitchers they drafted are predominantly ground ball pitchers?
Well, the guy they just got from Philadelphia, Tom Eiselman, I believe.
Who once upon a time I think was a second-round pick for the Astros.
Exactly. So they're getting, and he's going to go to Norfolk and be a starter. The upper-level players with the Orioles really need to be upgraded.
Sure.
And because, I mean, you don't have guys, your best prospects right now are at your A level. And the AA and AAA seems to be lagging a little bit. So that's something that you're going to try to bolster and get, because you got to have them in this day and age.
Sure.
Your 40-man roster is big, really big, especially pitching-wise.
No doubt.
You got to have somebody that comes up.
Well, the only one really knocking on the door at the AAA level through the system is Keegan Aiken.
Yeah.
Outside of that, there's not a lot of guys, at least at the AAA and AA level, who are demanding that you consider them for the major leagues.
Right.
As far as the pitchers are concerned, Mountcastle, of course, offensively is warranting that almost. But it was maybe a little surprising to see them go college heavy, because we had thought that maybe the timeline for the rebuild would have been 3 to 5 years, 5+ years, who knows?
And you can't tell.
But that's always the crapshoot of the MLB draft,
Right.
is that you need to get good baseball players.
But I think you get some lower. I think you get some high school draft pitchers at the lower, and give them more time to learn what to do and how to pitch, and hopefully get the stuff they get.
And for what it's worth, next year's class is supposed to be, I believe I saw somewhere that I think I read on Fangraphs, 11 of the top 18 prospects in next year's draft are pitchers.
Right.
And there's It's a
that's what they want.
thing. Yeah.
I mean, it's like that. The more pitchers you can get, because then you can trade them and get players.
Of course.
Did it with the Giants. Saw that year in and year out. You could just overload with pitchers if the draft they're there for you.
Warrants it.
But
speaking of the Giants.
Okay,
your guy,
really?
now
I know. Yeah, let's go.
Your guy, Madison Bumgarner, was in the news a bit this weekend. And for what it's worth, look, Max Muncy crushed that baseball.
It was waffle, to say the least. But yeah, I talked about it before. I was in the clubhouse when they were here in Baltimore, and I spoke to Bumgarner for 45 minutes, and I made the comment, "You pitched in the wrong era." He goes, "I know," but he's a guy that really, in the unwritten rules of the game, it's more, for the players. They did it, and it's more for them to control what's going on the field, so you don't really show up other guys in a sportsmanship type way. And it's a hard balance. It goes for different players, but Bumgarner's a guy that he respects the game. He's not going to show anybody up, and you don't want anybody to show him up. And much like Nolan Ryan, Bob Gibson, you bunt on Nolan Ryan, the next pitch is going to be at you. Get out of the way. And you have to know those guys. You have to know those guys. And Bum just took exception that the way, he hit it. He's had his, and that's the Dodgers. The Dodgers and the Giants, they're battling.
They go way back, yeah.
You drank that cup of coffee wrong, I'm going to drill you or something. But, yeah, I mean, it can go either way.
So then you would say the percent likelihood that the next time Max Muncy is in the batter's box against Madison Bumgarner, that Bumgarner maybe throws it a little inside.
It could happen. Who knows? It's just like Bum says. He goes, the big thing is let the kids play.
Yeah.
He goes, I can almost laugh about that. And it is kind of humorous. Let the kids play. These are grown men.
By the way, Muncy's only a year younger than Madison Bumgarner.
Well, Bumgarner's 28 years old.
29, I believe, and Muncy's 28.
You would think, and he made this comment, that you would think that I'm 35, 40 years old, the way the press writes about me. I lose a mile an hour in my fastball, and I'm done.
And you've said it yourself. You said it just now. He played in the wrong era. He's old-fashioned. He is. Everyone knows that about Bumgarner, and that's something that you can respect. And I think I completely do respect the side of him that says, well, you say let the kids play, well, then let me be me.
Be me.
The next step, though, where it goes somewhat over the line, and I think this is sort of the unwritten rule thing, right?
Yes.
Is where if you are going to throw at somebody, you are now taking it from, and I understand it's policed through the years. That's kind of how baseball has handled it. But you are still putting at risk, somebody, your colleague, essentially, right? Like over something that is, part of the game.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean it's
so delicate.
And
it really is.
It's this rule applies to you, but not you.
Right.
And you can do this, but he can't. And that's kind of, I know when we first got to the big leagues, me in 1971, you didn't say nothing. You just kept your mouth shut and listened. And that
was like the way baseball it was. But I don't know if it's a bad thing that it's changed, right? Because if you see the way sports are,
one of the problems. Oh yeah, really. I mean, but one of the problems is you got all these people that have all this knowledge in baseball, baseball people, they don't want him around now.
Sure.
Which is mind-boggling to me. When you got Jim Palmer, who, Hall of Famer, when he offers help to somebody, a pitcher, and he just puts, no, that's okay. I'll figure it out. Then you go, wait a minute. That's not right, and that's all over.
That's a whole other level, right? Like there's. I think the game can still change and evolve, and like for example, look, I'll prop up Derek Jeter as an example. Derek Jeter was the face of Major League Baseball just about for nearly 16 or 17 years. Yet we really knew nothing about him as a person. He never had to show kind of who he was, what he was interested in. He was just this all-American boy propped up that was like, look how great Derek Jeter is. And I personally, like when I'm watching sports, I like to know a little bit more about like Adam Jones.
Yeah.
I liked him so much partially because of who he was and how much of a difference he made in the community and how just kind of himself he was in his own
guys
skin.
Are very what's the word? Standoffish maybe. They
Sometimes
don't
they just want to be private.
They don't want their stuff out there.
And I can respect that. And I can respect that.
And I do, but I don't. I think the team should do more to promote those people.
Absolutely.
We should see signs around the city here, and that's something you saw signs of Manny and Chris Davis and whoever else.
And it's hard when you're propping up like Hanser Alberto and like here it's right.
Yeah, but
Mancini, right?
Mancini, you got guys, but who does commercials here in the city? Nobody. You got the kicker,
Justin Tucker.
Tucker doing stuff for Royal Farms. You should have more guys out there.
And it's a little bit of the chicken and the egg scenario. Like when Adley Rutschman gets up to the major league level, you can believe that like people are going to be looking to get him in there. Like so, you have to have the players that are going to demand the sponsorships, and that's understandable. But you would think that
some people they don't want to do it because they're making so much money, and they just don't. They don't think they have to do it, but. I mean, they get out and do some things, but you want to see it, like you said, a little bit more about them. I want to know a little bit more about this guy because they used to, and we used to go out in the public because you could.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of tough because everybody got a cell phone, and the first time you do something funky, it's going to be everywhere.
It's a dangerous game. It's a very delicate game that you have to play. But I think I even just leaving it on the baseball field, it doesn't have to only be in a press conference that you can get personality out of a player, right? Like I like seeing, bat flips are sort of like they're fun. They are fun for what it's worth.
It's awful when you see kids doing it, and what the big league guys do, the kids are going to emulate. And I saw that when my son played hockey as a kid. They would watch the NHL games, and they would go try to do the same stuff. It's a penalty. You can't do it.
I think that Major League Baseball needs to look at the KBO, and they have found a really great balance between fun and I think reverence for the game. And it's something that like they have bat flips, right? Like they have, but at the same time they. Like for example, I saw a clip of a pitcher, former major league, I think, reliever who was pitching in the KBO, and he walked a guy on a 3-2 pitch. He like hung a curveball; it was outside the zone.
I saw,
and so he like threw his glove up in the air and he punted it. Right. And if anybody were to ever do that on a major league mound, they would be chastised. It would
you'd probably be, if you're not a really, you just don't see that happen.
You might be sent down.
Over in Japan and these other places, the bat flips are common after a base hit.
But that still, I think that act from the pitcher was still viewed as disrespectful.
Yes,
right? Like
absolutely.
You can have both. Yeah. You can have the fun at the plate. You can have warranted celebration, and you can still respect the game as a whole. And I think that's where baseball needs to find that balance.
We've seen it in the major leagues this year, where a guy will throw his glove down and on the ground. You just don't do that. That's something that has changed, and it's just not right. But you talk about. The game, I don't think the people are seeing the strategy of the game. They had 13 home runs last night in Philadelphia against Arizona. They had 13. Arizona had 8 home runs, the most home runs they've ever had in a game.
Yeah, a good example of that is the kid getting death threats for bunting in a 3-0 game in the 9th inning and then breaking up a no-hitter, right?
That's one in all the unwritten rules, that's kind of a rule, but they're kind of still in the game.
100%. Every base runner matters at that point.
The thing is, if you're bunting in a no-hitter to specifically break up the no-hitter, I disagree. Don't do that.
Look, if the defense if they're stupid enough to shift you and leave the third baseman just over at second base, and you have that whole side of the field open, in my opinion, like that's their fault.
Right. But in a no-hitter, though, if it's the primary reason is to just break up the no-hitter, no. It's like when
if it was 9-0, right?
And you know what? In 9-0, 7-0, 9-0, depending on how the game is going, because you can sit and watch. We're being manhandled. We don't have a chance of coming back. And there's other times when you're 6-7-0, you go, hey, we have a chance. And I've done this. We've done it several times. I've talked about it with the other guys, coaches and stuff. You know when you got a chance and you know when you don't. You just seen it enough and get that feeling. That's what analytics don't show.
It was also a combined no-hitter.
Oh, yeah.
For what it's worth.
And the thing with stealing when you're so far ahead,
there's towing the line between Bush League. Like it's
and you just you have to understand the situation and stuff, and you just gotta sometimes. Wait a minute, that's not right. But the more you see it, the more you feel it. There's a lot of with the unwritten rules. Yeah, you can do it, and no, you can't.
And that's so I think that because I was raised as like baseball. I love baseball. It was my first sport. My first love, and I think if you were raised with baseball, you were raised with some vestige of the unwritten rules, whether right or wrong, right? Like
probably in every sport.
But at the same time, I think as I've gotten older, I still know that like it's silly to have something unwritten that people are going to subscribe to and adhere to, and then ultimately you can't fact check it. You can't prove anybody right or wrong because they're unwritten, and all it is just a pissing match ultimately, and it's sort of just
it's a thing. It's a thing that the players did, and it's for them.
Yeah.
And to have people that haven't played the game at the highest level to understand it, it's hard to explain and it's hard to understand. And now a lot of people getting in the game, I mean, they couldn't tell you guys that played 15 years ago. That they just don't have the knowledge of what happened, the history. That's what they need to. A lot of guys, some guys do, most don't know the history of the game, and that's really.
I mean, it's like I am one of the people on Glenn Clark Radio. I will frequently say, I am not familiar with something or another because I wasn't really alive at that time, right? Like it's hard for me to truly have that, honest perspective because I couldn't have watched Sandy Koufax, right? I only know how good Sandy Koufax was through stories, through history, through brief highlight reels. Like if I could have watched one pitcher ever in his prime, I would have loved to have watched Satchel Paige, and that's somebody.
Bob Feller.
To see clips of Satchel Paige throwing at age 62, and the way the ball flew out of his hand, right? Like I really do appreciate baseball history, and it's something that I love to be able to cross-reference, and the fact that we can compare Mike Trout and say that his stats are comparable to Mickey Mantle, and that's the closest comp, is something that I truly love being able to do. And so there's a balance between respecting the history, understanding it, and also letting – it's not necessarily letting the kids play, but letting generations be who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that to a point. Yeah, but I was forced. I pitched against 42 Hall of Famers, and I played with probably 16 of them, and just those guys, and just watching them and stuff. That was really, really amazing to me, even to be able to do that. That was something else. But getting on with the Orioles, they open a series tonight with Toronto. John Means, 5-4, 267 earned run average against Toronto's Trent Thornton, who is 1-4 of the 473. Orioles are 3-7 in their last 10 games. Toronto 2-8, so it should be quite a battle. The Orioles won 2 out of 3 in April when they faced them. So I think that's probably one of the few.
That's the only
series they won
this year. Yeah.
But they've been in the games. They scored 12 runs in the first game on this road trip. Then they scored 11 runs total after that. But they got 5 quality starts from the starters, which was really impressive. They were 1-4 in those 5 quality starts. They have 17 of them on the year. Bundy has been outstanding, and he's been pitching.
It's been good to see.
What's amazing, he's not an overpowering guy anymore, but he pitches. And I think he used more fastballs the other night, but he depending on the matchup, who you're with, who you're against, he pitches to that. But he changes speeds well. Those strikes gets ahead in the count, and when he does that, he's very.
It's all about location.
Exactly, pretty much. Yeah. I would rather hear, hey, what about this pitcher? Well, he throws 98. Can he throw the ball over the plate? That's
sure.
It really. If you can't, it doesn't mean crap. But Castro has had 5 scoreless innings, and you love to see this guy do what he does. So
he's got the live arm.
Got the great arm. If he has command,
right?
That's
he's
amazing.
Nearly unhittable if he's got command.
Anyway, our guest today. He has been, 16 years professional pitcher. He went to the big leagues in 1990 at age 30. He's pitched in Mexico, I think Taiwan. He's been around. But that's not the thing that really interests me is what he's doing now. He's a writer. He's written several books. The newest book is Dreams Do Exist. It's an autobiography of Daryl C. Smith, born and raised here in Baltimore. Daryl, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Ross. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, with the writing of your books, I know Dreams Do Exist. I know you're the president and founder of the foundation, Dreams Do Exist. How does this book relate to what you are doing now with the kids in the city, in the Baltimore area?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody has a dream, and I hope it does exist because mine did. Born and raised here, like you said, Baltimore, Maryland. Somebody pretty much looked out for me on the way up. Uncles, karate teachers, basketball coaches, baseball coaches, you name it, principals. So I ended up reciprocating and giving back to others as well. So a big part, everybody's dream is really going to come to reality if you stick with it. And, hey, I've been a dreamer all my life, pro baseball, author of 9 kids' books. Now we're heading out to see Mr. Steve Harvey tomorrow.
That's amazing. You showed me the letter. You had the event that I guess the executive director saw and invited you down to speak. And I know you're leaving tonight for Barnesville, Georgia. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I know it's June the 13th to the 16th, and it involves kids ages 14 to 18 from single female-headed households. So tell us a little bit about that. That's really important.
Well, I've been a mentor for quite a while. Since, I guess, 22 years old, I worked at the juvenile detention centers after my pro baseball career, giving back to, the kids or during the pro baseball career. And we just finished our 8th Youth Dreams Up Tomorrow Youth and Jazz Expo at the Gordon Center for Performing Arts Theater. And Steve Harvey's executive director, Paige, is the only name she goes by, but her name's Sharon Page. She came in and enjoyed the show, went out and called Mr. Harvey. He then told her to donate $10,000 to the foundation and partner with the foundation because he couldn't really believe that there was somebody out there that had a heart as large as giving back to, that needed it. Kids in high school, kids in college, elementary school. I've been to over 120 schools. I just keep going on my off day, sneak a little golf in here and there, but most of the time I'm at prime elementary schools, middle schools, helping someone's child get ready for the future.
That's I know you do it. You're an avid golfer, I know, and you're a top sales associate over at Lynn Stoller at Lexus on Rasherstown Boulevard. Great job, but did your playing career, what you went through? I know you had some injuries. You started. You didn't get to the big leagues until age 30, which was amazing. I know there's trials and tribulations that you had to go through, but tell us a little bit how that helped you with what's going on in your life now. What you went through as a player.
I understand, and I was raised the same way these kids are. Steve Harvey's allowing us to bring 6 kids and 6 mothers from single-family, female-headed households. Some of these kids have never seen their father. Some of these kids have only seen their dad once or twice. Some of these kids will never see their dad. It's pretty pathetic. but it's what we have. The hand that you're dealt with is the hand that you have to play. And trust me, giving back is the way that I proceeded. My mother, she raised me, so it's ironic that it turns back to my mom. My dad died of Agent Orange and leukemia when I was 11 years old from the war. He was in Vietnam, and he came home. He had leukemia and Agent Orange. And 2 months of holding his hand at the hospital, he passed away on me. And my mom was pretty much always my dad, so she taught me right, wrong, and different. Her two brothers taught me right, wrong, and different, but they also taught me how to never give up on my hopes, my dreams, and my aspirations. And when I left home in 1980, my mom said, promise me to write about your life endeavors and never give up. I fulfilled that promise. She left me at the tender age of 55. I'm 58, so I can imagine. But I was always raised not to give up, not to quit. And then also when you're in the minor leagues and you're doing well, I mean, it would be a different story, Ross, if I was, 110, 2-11, but I was vice versa, 6-2, 1.23 ERA. My lifetime ERA in the minors was 3.23. I bet you that any major league team would like to find a prime pitcher with a 3.23 lifetime ERA in the minor leagues right now, because pitching is key. It's essential. But once again, I never gave up. I teach other kids not to give up on their hopes, their dreams, and their aspirations.
How much of that message in general has to do with just the general nature of baseball and the nature of the game being based on failure?
It has a lot to do with it. I know a couple of kids right now. They're in the Royals system, a couple of them in the Mets system and all, and their parents called me and they were like, well, David, he didn't do well this last month, and I said, tell David, run a little bit more, work a little smarter, and locate his pitches a little bit more smarter over the plate. You just can't throw 91 over the center of the plate. You're going to be looking for a 9 to 5.
Daryl, I don't know where you get the energy, buddy, with your golf and your working, but I love talking to you. I love the letter, and I know you're, excuse me, you're like you said, going to Georgia tonight to speak at this. Good luck down there. Continue doing what you're doing, buddy. I know it's it's a big thing we needed here, especially in the city. It just seems to be getting worse, but they need your help, and they need all of our help, actually. But keep doing what you're doing, buddy, and it's really appreciated. Thanks so much for being here. Good luck, and I will talk to you when you get back. Ross. All right, buddy. Great. That was very special. I mean, really an important thing to do with the kids. I've seen some video of him working with some kids that are really talented, big, strong baseball players. But the message is just really important and really needed.
I mean, you can never highlight enough the work that people do in the Baltimore community, and it's something that sometimes goes unnoticed, unfortunately, in the professional sports landscape with all the stories that go around Twitter and the people looking for negative stuff to talk about. But there really is a lot of good done.
Yeah,
and
really.
It's always refreshing to hear people who are making a difference in the community. And like you said, we do need more of it from everybody.
Right. Well, if you want more information on the Dreams Do Exist Foundation, you can go to www.dreamsdoexist.com. Daryl Smith, president and founder, really a special guy, and done a lot of work to help the youth and young adults of the city and surrounding areas. So hats off to him.
Indeed.
Anyway, the Orioles take on Toronto tonight.
Battle of the last place
absolutely.
teams. Absolutely.
This is and the Orioles played well against them. Again, what about Hanser Alberto? 3 hits, off of Wade Miley on Sunday to raise his average to .425 versus left-handers.
Which
he is on fire.
That's pretty good. Look, I mean, this team is giving opportunities to guys to get extended at bats, and they probably wouldn't get those chances elsewhere. No. So for him to be, somebody might see Hanser Alberto's line against lefties and say, look, that's a decent utility infield glove and platoon bat against righties or against lefties.
Lefties. Righties is hitting .223.
Yeah, you don't probably want to leave him out of the lineup there. But, there's value if a team sees that and can say, I think that this might be a useful addition for us. Yeah. But this is kind of what we're dealing with as Orioles fans, is looking for the silver linings, looking for And if Bundy, right, like if Bundy keeps pitching well, like when do you start having the conversation of they need to start picking up the phone and calling other teams?
I don't know if they'll do that or not because there's no one coming up to take their place. And
I don't know if that matters though. Like this.
Well, I mean, you got to have guys that could come up and fill in and at least be somewhat productive. If not, you're going to kill their confidence, and it's going to be worse.
Well, Aiken isn't, we don't think, too far away, right?
You know, I think they're going to leave him there and let him pitch, maybe call him up at the end of the year. Maybe. You know, Mountcastle don't have a position. I think what's going to happen, Trumbo is going to be coming back here on June the 16th. Mm-hmm. What happens then?
Well, I was never fond of the Trumbo signing as far as that. He has one. He's not even really a first baseman for what it's worth.
No.
Like, if you were to put him there, he would be an average to below average defensive first baseman.
And Nunez is lower than that.
Yeah. And
so anyway, I mean, it's you scratch your head, but there's going to have to be some moves here, and it's coming quick. Cobb is not even pitching down there, and that is something that you just kind of scratch your head.
Do you think the Cashner thing, where he's like, I want to stay in Baltimore. If I get traded, I'm not going to play for anybody else. Do you think that's something where he'll probably see the light at some point where it's like, why wouldn't I?
Again, you don't want to. There's nobody to bring up. I mean, they've said that. There's no one. They go out and get some fillers, some Band-Aids, that can go in and do what they can do, but. I mean, if you can trade him for
do the opener thing, right? Like at a certain point,
the bullpen is atrocious.
The worst part.
And you just got to be careful. I mean, it's how you're going to juggle it. It's going to be interesting to see how they juggle this. But when the guys come, what are you going to do with Davis? I mean, is he going to come up with a cold again and be down for 10 days? Or at
a certain point, you just probably have to just cut the tie.
You have to do that.
But it's still like it's for the Orioles especially, and for as long as Peter Angelos is still like involved in any capacity, it's going to be tough for them to swallow that pill.
I mean, if you want to get better, and if you're going to bring these young players up, they have to play.
He still plays a good defensive first base, but so does Mancini, right? And a lot of people can.
Really,
right?
I mean, you need hitting, and if he's going to get in the way of at bats from young guys, then he's expendable. You either sit him on the bench and eat the contract, or you get rid of him and eat the contract. Either way, you're eating the contract.
Yep, no doubt.
But Trumbo coming. Cobb was really a head scratcher. You don't know what that is, but again, if there's no one to bring up, then you can't move these guys. You don't want to. You want to be. There's enough teams out there that are rebuilding and going through this. Well, we really don't care if we win or not. We're trying to get. God, there's too many teams.
The Orioles are doing best at it, though.
The good teams are feasting on the bad teams.
There's no doubt. It's the haves and the have-nots.
There's only a couple divisions that
Although
it's close.
The Marlins for a while there were hanging out with the Orioles at the bottom, now suddenly they're one of the hottest teams in baseball.
Unbelievable.
So goes to show that you never know when a team might throw together a really unexpected win streak. And, it's something that's pretty interesting.
Really.
And today's show, of course, is also, as always, brought to you by the fine folks over there at Sliders.
Yes, it is. And you want Baltimore's local sports bar. You want to watch all the big games. You can watch the NBA game last night was really something.
What a game.
I'm sure the big screens down there were jiving. You can enjoy that new Fancy Clancy beer and their daily food specials that they have. Sliders is located just 771 feet from home plate across from Camden Yards. So that is
always fun to get out to the yard and stop at Sliders beforehand for a few beers before the game.
1, 2, or 11. Get some food. I got to try the Fancy Clancy beer. I haven't done it.
It's really good.
I haven't had it.
It's delightful.
I'm going to try that.
It's not too heavy. You're just you can throw a few back in the nice sun, and then you're walking to Camden Yards and just be smiling. You're going to be feeling
That's
great.
The whole. You got to smile when you go there. You got to be smiling.
Well, how could you not? It's the most beautiful yard in baseball.
Really. Well, Kyle, I think it's about done, isn't it?
I believe so.
All right, we've hit just a lot of topics that we wanted to. Hopefully, see you next week.
Indeed.
Take care.
Have a good one.